Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 29th Berlin Board of Education special meeting. It is 7:03 and I'm going to call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a quick agenda tonight. There's just a few orders of business that we need to move forward with. So the first item is the CABE Board Recognition Award. So the 2021 application for the CABE Board Recognition has been completed. It's enclosed in Schoology. You can look at it I'm hoping you've already reviewed it. One of the requirements this year, unlike previous years, is that in order to receive board distinction, a motion must be made at a board meeting to approve the application. Superintendent Benigni, would you like to add anything on this?
This year we worked through to complete the application, and one of the things needed for the application is actually on this agenda and will come up as a later item. If there's any questions on what was completed or the boxes that were checked, I did not provide all of the supporting documents, but they will be submitted to CABE by Friday for our consideration.
Do we have a motion for consideration?
Make a motion of consideration, move to approve the 2021 application for the CABE Board Leadership Award and Board Distinction Award.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Steve Jenkins, second by Mark Prusen. Do we have any discussion? Now we'll open it up for discussion if anyone has any questions on the application. All right, we'll go to a vote. If you guys can just, as we vote, hold up your hand so we can go around and count who's in favor, who's opposed. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I believe we have 7 opposed.
7-4.
Carrie, were you aye? Was anyone opposed? Okay, so it is 7-0, I believe.
I think it's 8-0.
Okay, 8-0. Thank you for that. My view for the Zoom is different right now. All right, thank you. Now we are moving on to policy review and revision, the first reading for adult continuing education program. This policy is needed for an upcoming compliance review. Does anyone want to add anything on this reading? We don't need any action taken on this item today, but if anyone would like to add anything. All right,
Could I one comment? The only thing I'd like to add is, as much as it's needed for an upcoming compliance review, we have the option of either offering adult ed or joining with another town. And when this has come up before with previous boards, we've always opted to have our own adult ed and that autonomy. So I think it's important that we have the policy anyways, regardless of the compliance review.
Thank you for that clarification. All right. Anyone have anything else they would like to add on the first reading?
Yeah, Julia.
Go ahead.
Tim Oakes, board member. Just to point out, Tracy and I did meet as an ad hoc committee yesterday morning with the superintendent to talk about these policies. Very straightforward, that make a lot of sense. As I mentioned yesterday, it was something that was kind of surprising in regards to the adult ed. We've had this program for a long time. We've all seen it in the paper being advertised and promoted. So it's good to see that a policy is finally here to formalize things. And then also the civility policy, I think, just makes a lot of sense in terms of putting some language alongside those actions and what the consequences will be for people who are acting inappropriately.
Thank you. So you actually, that was a nice segment into policy 1316, civility, respectful communication and actions. Is there anything you would like to add to this, Tim, or anyone else here this evening?
I could just make,
And I think you went on
You're
mute.
muted.
Superintendent.
sorry, as much as it speaks to the civility of administration, board members, the public in general, and what's expected of both, and the level of respect that should take place, how both groups are treated. This policy is something that CABE has been upfront about and in the forefront of drafting. Our policy it really took 4 CABE policies, and we drafted it, and then we had Shipman review it, as all of our policies typically are either start with Shipman or end with Shipman, in this case, reviewing the policy. So that's how we got to where we are.
Great, thank you. So these policies have been reviewed by the ad hoc committee, like Tim stated. And since this is the first reading, there's no action that's required this evening. The second reading and adoption will take place at the October 12th board meeting. Now I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Benigni to give us an update on the current budget.
What I wanted to do just briefly, I know this is a special meeting, is recently some information has come up regarding October 1st, which is Friday, to get our October 1st enrollment numbers. Those numbers are what's used to determine many things, including our choice grant. What has been disclosed to me is 12 students that we expected to be in the district for this year that were choice students are no longer eligible for choice, that have been disenrolled. We have opted to elect 10 seats as you approved last year. Of those 10 right now, we only have 5 students that are attending Berlin. So our numbers are not where we expected. They're actually really 17, maybe 18 less than what we expected. And so right now it looks like we may fall beneath that 4% number. And the reason I bring that up is that we typically try to stay around 4.5 to 4.7% choice over our total population. And we do use those numbers within our budget. The 4% or higher, typically we do receive a reimbursement at $8,000 per student. If we fall below the 4%, it drops to $6,000 per student. So we could be looking at a shortcoming in the choice account of roughly $220,000, $230,000. I will have a better idea of where we are come next week after the October 1st date. But I did want to draw your attention to that. I also want to draw your attention to our certified salaries line. Typically, when we budget the certified salaries with retirement and things, we budget at a master 6, which is roughly 66,000. But then we don't always hire at that. Right now, that account is in a deficit. It shows on the budget chart, it's a deficit of like 200 some odd thousand. But we recognize that 2 of those positions are being split with Cromwell at the Transition Academy. So it's more like about 130,000, 140,000. And you might say, well, how does that happen? Well, the best candidate that we look in the candidate pool doesn't have a master's and has worked more than 6 years. They have a 6th year and they've worked 15 years. Well, that salary is an extra 35 or 40,000 from what the other one that we budgeted for. We end up hiring that individual and that pushes that number up. I do expect that we will have savings, but I do bring it to your attention as a board. The only reason I bring it is there's so many speculations in the budget with utilities. We were looking at utilities from, a year ago, not the previous year. Same thing with transportation, because of what COVID did last year, really threw things differently. So what we've done in the meantime is we have put a freeze on the building supply budgets, enough to cover any of the deficits that we anticipate. Should there not be the deficits, obviously we've done the same in years past. we'll release the budgets for supplies and things at the buildings. Because in central office is frozen also. I don't think it's just a building supply accounts. But I think it's important that the board know that, the choice numbers may be different than what we anticipated. And the other part to add in, I did speak to the choice director. There are no more students in the choice pool that are opting for choice in any district. So it's not that our seats were just vacant. But I did receive a call last week, at the end of the week, from a parent who had 4 students that went through Berlin through choice, and now was sharing it with her sister who lives in Hartford, who says, "Is there any way you could take my son?" My sister said it was fantastic for her 4 kids. So I think we do have a good reputation out there. I just don't think that where things were with COVID, that there's this pool of students that are ready to travel, as if they were in the past. So I just bring that to your attention. I don't want you to be overly alarmed. We are managing it, but it's not typically what we've dealt with in the past. I don't know if there's any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead.
Superintendent, I just ask what impact this will have going into the next budget projection year, and if we'll have kind of some comfort whether or not we'll be able to place these seats in the next budget year as we go into that process, or is this something we can expect that we're going to fall short going forward?
That's a great question. I think our plan has been for the last 2 years, I believe, maybe 3. We typically offer seats at the K level in first grade. And to have a deficit of 18, maybe more as of October 1st, do we offer 20 seats? And the other question is, are we able to fill those 20 seats? So it definitely could have future budget implications. We don't have the reserve of choice funds was close to 300,000. We've also had outplacements that have taken place unexpected. So those reserve funds are not there as they were in the past. So, it could have long-term budget implications. We hope that's not the case. But I love a better picture after October 1 when I see exactly where we are. And I mean, one year we ended up at 3.98%, and the state does not round that. So it's you hit the 4.0 or better, or that's the number you're getting. So I would only be speculating, Steve, at this point.
Any other questions? All right, well, there's one last item on the agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Adam, second by Steve Jenkins. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, vote carries 8-0.
Have a good night,
Have a
everybody.
wonderful night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Bye for now.